Welcome back, Middle Age Grind. And I had a request from a viewer of my channel to do an explanation of replacement cost versus actual cash value in homeowners insurance and why it's important, what does it mean, and I'm going to explain the costs, the differences, and I'm going to show you an example. So in layman's terms, replacement cost is going to be the cost to repair the damages that you have in today's dollars, all right? Actual cash value is going to be the depreciated value of the item that you're trying to repair based on the age of that item. And I'm going to come over right here and I'm going to show you an example and I'm going to help explain that. All right, so what are you looking at here at the whiteboard? So I'm going to give you, this is a apples to apples comparison on an example claim, right? Replacement cost versus actual cash value. So in this example, we have a $300,000 home, okay? Both the same thing. The deductible in this example is going to be the same. It's 1% of the dwelling, which is $3,000. And we're going to do an example claim of a roof, which is a very common claim probably across the country, all right? So in this example, the cost to replace the roof because of the damages due to the claim is $20,000, all right? All the things so far are equal, all right? So in the replacement cost example, it costs $20,000 to replace. We're going to take our deductible, which is $3,000, right? And then we're going to subtract it, and you're going to get $17,000 to replace your roof. So the insurance company would pay, less your deductible, the cost it was to replace your roof. In the ACV example, okay, the roof is 10 years old. That's going to be depreciated depending on the age, but in this example, I did $10,000, right? And then once you take your depreciation, 20,000 minus 10, you're left with 10, less your deductible, $7,000. Now, this is a generic example. How they determine the depreciation depends on the lifespan of the roof, the age of the roof, but this is just a generic example in this illustration on the big differences between actual cash value and replacement cost. So coming back to our example of replacement costs and actual cash value, this is a question I get a whole lot about homeowners insurance. How do you determine, okay, how much coverage you want to put on my house, all right? And what happens is a lot of times, and I live in an area where the average age of homes, they're older, okay? I don't know exactly, but in Bogalusa, Louisiana, not a lot of newer homes, a lot of older homes, okay? So something that we run into a lot is pushback is, well, you want to insure my house for X, but my house isn't worth that much. It's not even worth close to that. Why are you insuring it that much? Well, I can tell you that the tool we use, and every insurance company probably has some version of this, at State Farm, we use what they call estimated replacement cost tool, all right? And I'm going to give you an example, and I'm holding up one here I did yesterday for a customer. So these are some of the things that determine how we come up with the value of your home. And this is estimated replacement cost, but it gets very detailed. Square footage, the year built, whether it is on a concrete slab or it's raised, how many corners, okay? What's the shape of your roof? What's your roofing material? How many rooms, bathrooms? What type of countertops you have? What type of flooring you have? How many garages, carports, any outbuilding sheds? And it goes on and on those detailed things. And this is something you ask the customer or potential customer these questions. You put that in the system, right? That's how we determine the value to insure your home. So in a lot of cases, when I explain to people, if your home was built in 1955, if there's a total loss, okay, we have to build a 2025 home. There's new codes, there's new standards, and And a lot of times, the value of that home is not what we're trying to insure it for. And here at State Farm, what we do is we come up with that number, and this is called estimated, and I want to make this perfectly clear. So let's say, an example, we come up with $300,000, and you're like, oh, I just don't think it would take that much. What State Farm allows is you can go within 80% of that number, right? 80% of whatever number it comes up with. In my quick math, and $300,000, that ends up being 240. And if you agree to insure it for 240, State Farm will still do a replacement cost policy. If you go below that, it becomes ACV, and that's just not something that we want to do, because in claim time, actual cash value policies, people usually don't have near enough to make the repairs, right? Another thing we have here at State Farm, and this was the same case when I worked in Oklahoma and Louisiana. I'm pretty sure it's in every state. Don't quote me on that. Check with your policy. Some states might be a little bit different. If you agree to the price that we come up with an estimated replacement cost tool, okay? In this example, just saying $300,000, whatever that is. And if you say, okay, that's fine. Keep in mind, this is estimated. We put on, if you do it at 100%, there's an option, it's called Dwelling Option ID with State Farm. Increase coverage A. And we increase the coverage A 20% automatically. We don't surcharge you for this. And when that comes into effect is, let's say you insure that house for $300,000. It's a total loss. The area sustained much devastation. You have claims people out, you got roofers, you got builders. Usually in those situations, what happens is inflation goes up because it's a supply and demand thing. State Farm, when this option ID gives up to 20% more coverage without additional costs if you insure at 100% of a replacement cost value. So in this example that I'm giving, $300,000, you have an extra $60,000. If we cannot replace it for the $300,000, that option kicks in automatically to kind of give you a buffer zone, because you did it for, we said it was. It ended up being more because of extenuating circumstances, outside factors, right? So you will have, in that example, an extra $60,000, 20% of coverage if you cannot fix your home for that $300,000 dwelling amount. So this would apply, and I know a question arose. Insurance company wanted to cover me for $1 million. Can I do $800,000? Well, I can only speak for us, okay, State Farm. In that case, if they wanted to, they say it's $1 million, you can do $800,000, still replacement cost policy. It's within that 80%, right? And it would lower your coverage a little bit. Now, if you would do anywhere from 80 to 99%, you don't get that dwelling option ID coverage extra on there, okay? So I hope this kind of explains what replacement cost is, what depreciated actual cash value is, and just how we kind of determine what the amount to insure your home. This is based on data that's constantly updated. And keep in mind too, once you do a policy with us, every year there is an inflation protection that's based on inflation factors. Your coverage does go up a little bit each year if you automatically renew with us. So if you're doing it $300,000 this year, next year, if it's inflation's 2% on average, expect your policy to go up coverage by that amount a little bit, because over time, as we know, you can't just keep something where it's at. You have to adjust with the times and the appropriate coverages. But I wanted to explain this today, and hopefully everybody has a good understanding who's watching this, and continue if you have any questions. And keep in mind, like I'm saying, I'm licensed in Louisiana. I worked in Oklahoma. I'm pretty sure it's like this, and your state might be a little bit different. I always recommend, call your agent, sit down and talk to them, go over these coverages. What I like to tell people is, you may not remember everything that I'm saying, but I want people, my customers, to have a good understanding when I'm sitting down and talking with them about their coverages when they're there. So if they understand it when we're sitting down and talking, they may not remember it, but if we have to go over that at a later date, it might refresh them and say, oh yeah, I remember we talked about that. I was comfortable at the time. Insurance is not that complicated, but there are some nuances and intricacies built into this thing that I like to help try to explain it to my customers and to you, if you're watching this channel, on the benefits of your policy, what you have, and why you have it. So with that said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'll see you real soon on the Middle Age Grind.